All right, so you guys wanted to know the best ways to scale a company, huh? Well, we found this blog post, and it's actually pretty insightful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's by Paul Graham, kind of big name in the startup world.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
So he's talking about this talk by Brian Chesky, the Airbnb founder, and it's about why the usual advice for running bigger companies doesn't always work for the people who actually started them.
Interesting. Yeah, you'd think advice like hire good people and let them do their jobs would be, universal.
Exactly. Sounds simple, right?
Right.
But Chesky talks about how that actually backfired for him. And Graham says a lot of founders go through the same thing. What's really fascinating is that Graham calls this whole thing manager mode. He says it can work against founders.
Really?
Almost like they're being told to run a company they didn't even create.
So like handing someone a perfectly working engine and saying, don't worry about how it works, just push this button.
Exactly.
If you built the engine, wouldn't that be kind of strange?
Totally. No wonder so many founders feel, I think the word Graham uses is
Or
gaslit.
gaslit, yeah.
Basically being told to ignore their gut feelings and treat their company like a black box.
Right.
So what's so different about founders? Why is their intuition often spot on in these situations?
Well, I mean, think about it. Founders have this like deep understanding of their company's DNA. They get the why behind everything.
Yeah.
It's not just the product, it's the vision, the culture, all the little details that make it unique.
And Graham points out that this founder mode is something we haven't really explored much. He uses Steve Jobs as an example.
Yeah.
Maybe think about how sometimes the most effective leadership is the unconventional kind.
Unconventional, yeah.
Graham mentions how Jobs had this annual retreat with the 100 most important people at Apple, not based on their job titles, but their impact and understanding of the company's core values.
That's interesting, picking people who really embodied Apple, regardless of their official position.
Yeah, it's like Jobs wasn't looking at an org chart. He was looking for the heart of Apple.
Makes you wonder, was that founder mode in action? And if so, why aren't more companies doing this?
Right, like some kind of secret advantage. But then there's the question of scalability. Can you really keep that founder-level engagement when a company grows from, a handful of people to thousands?
That's where things get tricky. That's where understanding the difference between founder mode and manager mode becomes crucial. They both have their strengths, but knowing when to use which one is, that's critical, especially when you're scaling.
Okay, so how do these two modes actually play out in a real company? What's it look like to shift from one to the other?
Well, it's not really a total switch, more about, understanding which parts of each mode work best at different points as a company grows, like manager mode with all the systems and processes. It's super important for efficiency as you scale up.
But if you rely too much on that manager mode, don't you risk losing that founder's touch, that gut feeling for what makes the company work?
Yeah, exactly. Like telling a chef, hey, stop tasting the food, just follow the recipe. You might get a consistent product, but it could be missing that special something.
Right, that passion.
Yeah.
So founder mode is about staying connected to the heart of the company, even as you're delegating more.
Exactly. It's not about micromanaging every single thing. It's about staying tuned in to the company's DNA, the core values, and making sure those are in every decision.
Makes sense. And that reminds me, Graham said true founder mode isn't about being in everything, but being really engaged in the things that matter most. He used Steve Jobs, those retreats, as an example again. Maybe Jobs got that by connecting with those 100 people. He could keep a pulse on the company, even as it, became huge.
And think about who those 100 people might have been. Not just execs, probably engineers, designers, product people. People deep in Apple's culture who understood its principles. Jobs wasn't just getting info, he was reinforcing those principles, making sure they reached every level.
It's like he created a network of founder mode ambassadors. They could carry that vision even when he wasn't right there. Could that be a model for scaling founder mode? Like instead of trying to do it all yourself, you find others who get your vision.
It's an interesting idea, like a founder mode multiplier almost. It reminds us that scaling a company isn't just about more people and processes. It's about scaling the culture, the values, the things that make the company unique.
And if you can do that, maybe you crack the code for sustainable growth, keeping that founder spirit even as you become a large, complex organization.
Yeah. And that brings us back to you and scaling your own company. As you think about growth, it's key to consider how you'll nurture and protect your company's identity.
It's not enough to just hire good people and let them do their thing. You need to make sure they understand and embody those core values that make your company successful.
Exactly. Think about who those key 100 people might be in your company. Who truly gets it? Who shares your vision and can help you scale it as you grow?
It's about finding those founder mode champions and giving them the power to carry the torch.
Because ultimately, building a company isn't just about building a product or service. It's about building a culture, a community, a shared understanding of what you're trying to achieve in the world.
And that's something no amount of manager mode can replicate. It takes that deep, intuitive understanding that only a founder or someone really connected to their vision can have.
Yeah. Graham even says many successful founders were already in founder mode, even if people saw it as unconventional or even eccentric. It makes you wonder how many great ideas got dismissed just because they didn't fit the traditional manager mode way of doing things.
Makes you think, right? What are we missing out on by sticking so tightly to these traditional models? Could embracing founder mode unlock a whole new level of innovation and success?
It's a question worth thinking about. What if instead of trying to squeeze founders into the manager mode box, we started to explore and understand the power of founder mode? How it can be used to create truly exceptional companies.
Now, that's a revolution I'd love to see. Imagine a world where founders are encouraged to embrace their intuition, their unconventional approaches, their deep understanding of what makes their companies unique.
It would definitely challenge our assumptions about leadership and success.
But maybe, just maybe, it'd lead to a wave of innovation and impact we can't even imagine yet.
Yeah. I think this is a good point to pause and reflect. We've covered a lot, and it's good to let these ideas sink in, see what resonates.
I agree. But before we wrap up, I have one more question. Out of all this, what's your biggest takeaway about founder mode? What really stands out?
Honestly, for me, it's that validation for so many founders who've been told to step back, to let go.
Right.
Graham's idea of founder mode puts words to that instinct, that deep connection they have, even when they're told to ignore it.
Yeah, like it finally gives them permission to trust their gut and lead in a way that, feels right for them. Makes me wonder if we've been thinking about leadership all wrong this whole time.
How so?
What if those things that make founders seem eccentric, what if those are their actual strengths?
That's an interesting thought. Like, instead of trying to file down those rough edges, we embrace them as part of what makes the company stand out.
Exactly. And that brings us back to you, our listener. You wanted to know about scaling a company, and we've been diving into this whole founder mode versus manager mode thing. So what does it all mean for you?
Well, if you're building a company, think about how you can keep that founder mode energy alive as you grow. Who are the people who really get your vision? How can you help them become champions for your company's DNA?
And remember, founder mode isn't about doing it all yourself. It's about staying connected to what makes your company special, making sure that's part of everything you do.
Yeah, think back to that Steve Jobs example. He couldn't be in every single decision at Apple, but he made sure to connect with those key people, those founder mode ambassadors. That's a model worth looking at. As you grow, who are the people you need to stay connected to? Who can help you scale your vision without losing its heart?
Maybe it's time we stop telling founders to grow up and be more like managers. Maybe it's time to really embrace founder mode and see what amazing things can happen when founders lead from the heart, from their gut.
And who knows, maybe you'll be one of the people who helps us redefine what leadership looks like, what's possible when we think differently.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into founder mode. Hopefully it's giving you something to chew on as you lead and create.
Until next time, keep learning, keep trying new things, and keep trusting your instincts.